Welcome back to Daily Progress Gear. Today, we explore a fascinating experiment about your brain and modern social media addiction. For 3 entire months, I completely stopped using TikTok and strictly limited my time on Instagram to see what would happen. My goal was simple. I wanted to break the cycle of endless scrolling and observe how my mind would naturally adapt. The initial days were incredibly tough. My fingers would instinctively reach for the phone, searching for that familiar digital comfort. But as weeks passed, the constant urge began to fade away completely. I felt a strange sense of newfound mental clarity. I started noticing the small details in my surroundings again. The world outside the screen finally began to look vibrant. My focus improved dramatically during this period. I could read books for hours without feeling the sudden need to check notifications. I felt like a completely new person. The mental fog had lifted, leaving behind a profound sense of peace and quiet. Then, I decided to conduct the second phase of the experiment. I needed to log back in to find content ideas. I opened the apps expecting to feel the old rush of excitement and entertainment that I used to experience daily. But the reality was shockingly different. Within just 15 minutes of swiping through short videos, a severe headache suddenly struck me. It was not a mild discomfort. It was an intense, throbbing pain right behind my eyes that made me feel dizzy. Instead of feeling energized or entertained, my body physically rejected the rapid visual stimulation. I felt completely overwhelmed and genuinely sick. I actually wanted to throw my phone across the room. The overload of flashing colors and loud sounds was absolutely unbearable. This extreme physical reaction fascinated me. Why did something so normal suddenly cause such a violent response in my own body? To understand this, we must look into applied neuroscience. The answer lies in how our brain processes a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is often misunderstood as just a pleasure chemical. In reality, it is the primary driver of motivation and reward seeking. When you engage in doom scrolling, you are exposing your brain to continuous high-amplitude waves of artificial dopamine spikes repeatedly. Every quick swipe delivers a tiny, unpredictable reward. Your brain becomes trapped in a relentless cycle of cheap and fast stimulation. Over time, this constant flooding of neurotransmitters creates a serious problem. The human brain was never designed for this extreme intensity. To protect itself from this unnatural chemical storm, your brain initiates a clever biological process known in science as dopamine downregulation. Downregulation means the brain actively reduces the number of active dopamine receptors available to receive these massive incoming chemical signals daily. By removing these receptors, the brain attempts to restore balance and prevent itself from being completely burned out by the stimulation. However, this defensive mechanism has a dark side. It significantly lowers your baseline dopamine level, making everyday life feel incredibly dull. Because your baseline is now so low, normal activities simply cannot generate enough dopamine to make you feel happy or motivated. Taking a quiet walk in the park suddenly feels like a boring chore. Your brain demands that intense digital high instead. Reading a physical book becomes impossible. The slow pace of reading cannot compete with the hyperactive speed of a short video. You lose interest in your hobbies and passions. Everything that requires patience and effort feels utterly exhausting and completely pointless now. This is why people feel trapped. They keep scrolling not because it is fun, but because everything else feels painfully empty. When I quit the apps for 3 months, my brain finally had the quiet time it needed to reverse this process. Without the constant flood of artificial stimulation, my dopamine receptors slowly began to grow back and increase in density once again. My baseline dopamine levels gradually returned to a healthy, natural state. The chemical balance in my mind was successfully restored naturally. Because my receptors were sensitive again, the small joys of life suddenly became deeply rewarding and incredibly fulfilling to experience daily. A simple cup of morning coffee brought genuine happiness. I could sit in silence and actually enjoy the peaceful moment completely. Watching the sunrise felt like a magical event. My brain was finally capable of appreciating the subtle beauty of the world. But when I suddenly reintroduced the hyperactive videos, my sensitive brain was violently shocked by the massive surge of instant dopamine. The headache was a direct warning signal. My nervous system was literally screaming at me to stop the overwhelming digital onslaught. This physical rejection was actually a sign of healing. My brain had forgotten how to tolerate that toxic level of stimulation. Understanding this mechanism gives us incredible power over our habits. We are not weak, our biology is just being cleverly hijacked. So, how do we fix this modern problem? The solution is not always to quit everything cold turkey on day one. Abruptly stopping all digital consumption can cause severe withdrawal symptoms. You might feel extremely anxious, irritable, and depressed for several days. Instead, I highly recommend a gradual reduction strategy. Slowly decrease your daily screen time to let your brain adapt more comfortably. Set a strict timer for your social media usage. When the alarm rings, force yourself to close the app without hesitation. But reducing screen time is only half the battle. You must actively replace that empty time with something much more meaningful. If you just sit on the couch staring at the wall, the urge to grab your phone will become absolutely overwhelming. You need to engage in activities that are low in artificial stimulation, but incredibly rich in personal meaning and physical effort. Exercise is a perfect example. Lifting weights or running releases a healthy, steady stream of natural endorphins and dopamine over time. Hiking in nature is another fantastic alternative. The fresh air and physical exertion provide a deeply satisfying sense of real accomplishment. When you climb a mountain, the reward comes after the effort. This trains your brain to value hard work and patience. Compare this to a short video, where the reward is instant and requires zero effort. Nature rewires your brain for resilience. Learning a new physical skill, like playing an instrument or woodworking, also helps rebuild those damaged neural pathways in your mind. These activities require deep focus and continuous problem solving. They stimulate the brain in a healthy, sustainable, and highly productive manner. As you spend more time on these meaningful tasks, your reliance on cheap digital dopamine will naturally begin to decrease significantly. You will start to notice a profound shift in your daily mood. The constant background anxiety will slowly melt away completely. Your sleep quality will improve dramatically. Without the blue light and racing thoughts, your mind can finally rest deeply at night. Your relationships will also benefit. When you are not constantly distracted by a screen, you can connect with people more authentically. You will become a better listener. You will be fully present in conversations, making your loved ones feel valued and respected. It is important to remember that setbacks will happen. There will be days when you accidentally spend hours scrolling through videos. Do not punish yourself when this occurs. Simply acknowledge the slip and gently guide your focus back to your real life. Healing your dopamine system is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time, patience, and a lot of self-compassion daily. Think of your attention as your most valuable currency. Every time you scroll, you are paying a massive price with it. The tech companies spend billions of dollars designing these apps to steal your focus. They weaponize your own biology against you. By taking back control of your screen time, you are staging a quiet rebellion. You are reclaiming your own beautiful mind. Imagine what you could achieve with all that reclaimed energy. You could build a business, write a book, or travel everywhere. The real world is full of infinite possibilities. But you have to look up from the glowing rectangle to see them. Start small today. Leave your phone in another room for just 1 hour, and see how your mind and body react. Notice the discomfort, but do not give in to it. Let the boredom wash over you until it transforms into creativity. Boredom is actually the birthplace of brilliant ideas. When the brain has nothing to consume, it finally begins to create something. Embrace the quiet moments. Allow yourself to just exist without the constant need for external entertainment, validation, or digital noise constantly. Your brain is a highly adaptable organ. Just as it learned to crave the endless scroll, it can learn to stop. It can relearn how to love the slow, beautiful rhythm of actual life. You just have to give it a chance. Take a deep breath right now. Feel the reality around you. This is where your true life is actually happening today. I hope this experiment inspires you to evaluate your own digital habits. The power to change is entirely in your hands. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into applied neuroscience and the fascinating mechanics of our modern digital addiction. Keep striving for balance, stay mindful of your habits, and I will see you next time on Daily Progress Gear Channel.